Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life when quitting seems easier than pressing on. The path ahead looks steep. The burden feels heavier than ever. Doubt whispers that it's time to turn back. But hear this clearly. That is the moment that separates those who succeed from those who merely wish. You see, greatness doesn't arrive wrapped in comfort. It is forged in fire built in those invisible, lonely hours when you decide, despite everything in you screaming to stop, to keep going. There is a moment in every pursuit, every goal worth chasing when resistance hits its peak. This is the moment when everything inside you says, this is too hard, or maybe this isn't meant for me. It is precisely here, in this invisible battlefield between desire and despair, where success is forged. Not in the initial spark of excitement, not in the applause or recognition that may follow, but right therein, the silence, the struggle, the sweat that no one else sees. Adversity is not a detour from the path, it is the path. Too often we think that difficulty is a sign that something is wrong, that maybe we're going the wrong way. But the truth is, the presence of struggle often means you are right where you're supposed to be. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. If it were comfortable, it wouldn't require growth. And if it didn't challenge you, it wouldn't change you. When you face resistance, understand that it is the natural gatekeeper of every worthwhile goal. It shows up not to stop you, but to ask, how badly do you want this? Most people turn back at the first sign of difficulty. They interpret discomfort as a warning. But the ones who succeed are the ones who see discomfort as a signal to press forward. They've learned that the deeper the valley, the greater the rise on the other side. They know that character, resilience, and true strength are developed in the process, not given as a reward. It's easy to keep going when things are flowing smoothly. When your energy is high, the results are rolling in, and the world is cheering you on. But those moments don't define your future. The moments that do, the ones that matter, are when you feel like giving up and you choose to go one more round. Those are the moments that forge something unshakable inside you. They build grit. They build mental toughness. They build a kind of confidence that doesn't need external validation because it was born in isolation. Most people admire success from a distance without understanding the pain, sacrifice, and silent endurance it required. They see the outcome, not the process, but the process is everything. The tears you wipe away quietly, the late nights, the setbacks, the disappointments, those are the bricks that build your foundation. That's where your edge is carved. That's where belief turns into evidence. The struggle itself is the fire that purifies your vision and removes all the fluff. When everything is stripped away and you're left with nothing but your will to continue, that's when you begin to uncover what you're really made of. So when adversity shows up, don't shrink. Don't let the discomfort convince you to abandon the mission. Recognize it for what it is, the proving ground. The necessary pressure that transforms effort into excellence. The challenge that tests your commitment, not to break you, but to build you into the person capable of handling the very thing you said you wanted. Comfort is the silent killer of potential. It wraps around you like a warm blanket, whispering that you've done enough, that you can take it easy, that there's no need to push further. But success does not live in comfort. It doesn't wait for you inside your routine or your safety zone. It stands on the other side of discomfort, daring you to cross the line, to stretch beyond what's familiar, and to force yourself into the territory where growth actually happens. Too often, people wait to feel ready before they act. They wait for clarity, for motivation, for the stars to align. But the truth is, those moments rarely come. The most successful people in any field didn't get there because they felt good every day. They got there because they moved forward even when they didn't feel like it. They learned to act in spite of how they felt. They understood that doing the work, when it's inconvenient, when it's boring, when it's frustrating, that's what separates the average from the extraordinary. There will be days when the excitement is gone, days when you question everything, days when the grind feels unbearable and the results aren't visible. Those are the most important days. Not the days when everything flows effortlessly, but the ones when you have to drag yourself to the next step. That's where the real difference is made. Anyone can show up when it's easy. Very few can force themselves to keep going when everything inside them says stop. Comfort will tempt you to settle. It will offer 1,000 good reasons to slow down, to take a break, to wait for a better time. But every time you choose comfort over commitment, you weaken your edge. You dull the sharpness of your ambition. You reinforce the habit of giving in instead of growing up. It's not about punishing yourself or burning out. It's about building the discipline to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lingers far longer. Comfort today can cost you opportunity tomorrow. The people who rise to the top are the ones who understand that and act accordingly. They make discomfort their ally. They seek it out. They lean into the difficult conversations, the hard choices, the long nights, because they know that everything they want lives just beyond the point of resistance. When you choose discomfort, you choose progress, you choose to grow. You condition your mind to handle pressure, to adapt, to evolve. That doesn't mean you won't be afraid. It means you move forward with the fear. It means you show up tired, you show up uncertain, you show up imperfect, but you still show up. And every time you do, you rewire your identity from someone who wishes and waits to someone who acts and achieves. You start to trust yourself, not because everything is going well, but because you've proven you can move forward even when it's hard. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather, unpredictable, inconsistent, and often absent when you need it the most. It's easy to get excited in the beginning when everything is fresh and the idea is still shining with possibility. In those early moments, the biggest mistake people make is stopping too soon. They get discouraged because they don't see results right away. But momentum doesn't show up on day one. It's a delayed reward. It creeps in quietly, without applause, without recognition. One day you wake up and realize you're stronger, faster, better, not because of a single massive effort, but because of the dozens, maybe hundreds, of small efforts you stacked on top of each other when it would have been easier to quit. You didn't wait for the right time. You made it the right time by taking action. Momentum is something you build with grit, with repetition, with patience. You won't always feel like you're making progress, and that's where most people give up. But that's exactly when the work matters most. It's in the repetition, in the routine, in the quiet hours where nobody's watching that your edge is formed. Every time you show up, you chip away at inertia. You rewrite your story. You go from someone who wishes to someone who executes, from someone who waits to someone who moves. That shift is everything, because once you begin to move with consistency, the momentum you've created starts to move you. Champions are not made when the sun is shining and the conditions are perfect. They are made in the darkness, in the struggle, in the moments where nothing is certain and everything feels like it's falling apart. That's where real character is built, not in comfort, but in chaos. It's easy to show up when the world is cheering you on, when the path is smooth and the rewards are immediate. But that's not where greatness is born. Greatness is born in the grind, in the silence, when nobody's watching and the results haven't shown up yet. It's during the storms, those hard, unforgiving seasons of life, when your discipline, your belief, and your purpose are tested. When you're tired, when you're doubting yourself, when things aren't going according to plan, that's the proving ground. That's where you find out what you're really made of. Because anyone can be confident when they're winning. Anyone can be focused when things are going their way. But the ones who endure, the ones who keep showing up even when it feels pointless, are the ones who come out stronger on the other side. Adversity doesn't break champions, it reveals them. It strips away the distractions, the noise, the fluff. When the storm hits, you can't fake discipline. You can't fake preparation. You can't fake grit. The work you've put in or haven't will show. And in that moment, when everything is being tested, you'll either rise or fall based on what you've built when things were quiet. Champions prepare in private for battles that will be fought in public. They train when there's no audience. They show up when there's no spotlight. They do the hard things not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. You don't become strong by avoiding hardship. You become strong by walking straight into it and refusing to let it shake you. Champions know that setbacks are part of the process. They don't fold when things go wrong. They adapt, they adjust, and they keep moving forward. Every loss, every failure, every delay becomes fuel. They use the storm to sharpen their mindset, to refine their purpose, to deepen their commitment. Where others see an excuse to stop, they see a reason to grow. There is a resilience that only develops when you've been tested, a toughness that can't be taught in books or lectures. It comes from doing the work when the odds are against you. It comes from getting up after being knocked down, not once, but over and over. It comes from embracing the struggle and using it as a ladder instead of a wall. Champions don't avoid pain. They don't run from discomfort. They lean into it because they understand it's the only way to reach the next level. Most people want the outcome without the process. They want the rewards without the sacrifice. But the process is where the transformation happens. It's where you develop the patience, the mental toughness, and the relentless work ethic that success demands. You can't shortcut your way to greatness. You can't bypass the storm. You have to earn your place, and the price is paid in effort, sacrifice, and consistency when it's hardest to maintain. What separates the elite from the average isn't talent or intelligence. It's the ability to keep going when most people would quit. It's staying calm in chaos, staying focused in failure, and staying determined when things feel unfair. Champions don't expect the journey to be easy. They expect it to be brutal, but they move forward anyway, step by step, through every storm, because they know that the storm isn't the end, it's the beginning of something greater being built inside them. Discipline is what keeps you moving when the fire has gone cold. It's the internal contract you make with yourself to show up no matter how you feel. It's the commitment to a standard, not a mood. Where motivation asks, do I feel like it? Discipline says, this is what I do. And in that shift from feeling to doing, you begin to build the mental toughness that creates real, lasting success. You stop being at the mercy of your emotions and start living by your decisions. The difference between the person who reaches their goals and the one who doesn't often comes down to a single trait, the ability to act without emotion. Not in a cold or detached way, but in a focused, determined way. Feelings are temporary. They're influenced by sleep, stress, weather, people, and 100 other variables you can't control. But discipline is something you choose. You train it like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. This doesn't mean you become a machine. It means you become someone who finishes what they start, someone who gets up and trains when the bed is warm, someone who works on their craft when the world is distracted, someone who continues not because they feel inspired, but because they have made a choice that their goals matter more than their mood. Every time you act without waiting to feel ready, you build trust with yourself. You create proof that you're capable of following through even under pressure, and that proof stacks up. It becomes confidence, not the kind that comes from hype or external praise, but the quiet kind that comes from earned experience. Waiting for motivation is like standing at the shore hoping the tide will carry you somewhere. Discipline is building the boat and rowing every day, no matter the conditions. Some days it's smooth. Other days, every stroke feels like a battle. But the destination isn't reached by luck, it's reached by consistency. and consistency is fueled by discipline. What most people call burnout is often just a lack of systems and structure. If you rely only on motivation, you'll burn out the moment things get tough. But if you've built a life around discipline habits, routines, boundaries, you create something that's unshakable. You no longer need to feel like doing it. You do it because it's who you are. You move forward not because it's easy or exciting, but because you've made it non-negotiable. The greatest battles you will ever fight are not with the outside world, but with yourself. The voice in your mind, the one that questions your ability, that casts doubt on your dreams, that whispers excuses when things get tough, that is your real opponent. It doesn't shout. It doesn't announce its arrival. It slips in quietly, wearing the mask of reason, pretending to protect you from pain, failure, and disappointment. But its true aim is to keep you exactly where you are, comfortable, stagnant, safe. This voice is not evil. It's instinctual. It's part of your mind's built-in wiring, designed to keep you out of danger. In ancient times, that meant protecting you from physical threats. In today's world, it means guarding you against risk, judgment, discomfort, and the unknown. It operates based on fear, and fear doesn't care about your goals. It only cares about survival. So when you set out to grow, to challenge yourself, to chase something bigger than what you've known, that inner voice reacts. It tells you to slow down. It tells you to wait. It tells you that maybe you're not ready, or maybe it's not worth it. And unless you learn to recognize that voice for what it is, you'll believe it. You'll start to mistake resistance for truth. You'll interpret hesitation as a sign to stop instead of a signal to push through. That's how dreams die not with a dramatic failure, but with a slow retreat into comfort disguised as logic. But here's what separates the ones who rise from the ones who remain: awareness. Those who succeed have trained themselves to hear that voice and move anyway. They understand that fear will always be there, but they don't let it drive the car. They listen, but they don't obey. That resistance, that hesitation you feel every time you try to level up, that's not proof you shouldn't go forward. It's proof that you're right on the edge of something meaningful. The stronger the resistance, the more important the action. Growth lives on the other side of that wall, and every time you push through it, you gain more than progress, you gain power. Not just the power to achieve one goal, but the inner strength to face the next challenge with even more resolve. This is where mental strength is developed. Not in the moments when everything flows, but in the quiet battles you fight with yourself. The decision to get up when you'd rather sleep in. The choice to work when it would be easier to scroll, rest, or escape. Each of these moments is a test, and the only way to pass is to act in defiance of that resistance. It doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you move forward with it in the passenger seat. The key is to separate who you are from what your mind is telling you in that moment. Your goals don't belong to your fear, they belong to your will. Momentum is not a gift, and it's not something that just happens to lucky people. It's a product of deliberate, consistent effort often, before any results are visible. People wait for momentum like it's some divine force that will suddenly arrive and carry them forward, but it doesn't work that way. Momentum doesn't show up until you've earned it. And you earn it by showing up when you don't feel like it, by taking the next step even when it seems pointless, by continuing to move even in the face of doubt, boredom, or fatigue. The truth about momentum is that it begins in stillness. That's the hardest part. The first action always requires the most energy. It's the startup cost. Think of a train at a dead stop. It takes a tremendous amount of force to get it rolling. But once it's moving, it builds speed, and with speed comes power. You become harder to stop. The same applies to anything you're working toward. That initial resistance is a test, and most people fail it. They wait to feel inspired before they act. They want signs, signals, or support. But momentum doesn't wait for inspiration. It responds to motion. Every small action compounds. Even the smallest, most insignificant effort builds upon itself. A 5-minute workout, a single page written, one more phone call, another hour of study, none of these things feel like breakthroughs in the moment.